Monkey.
Devin Haney defeats George Kambosos via unanimous decision. Like I said, guys, in my prediction for the fight, I only saw it going one way, and that was a win for Devin Haney. Now, this fight was a lot better than the first fight. We seen a lot more of Devin Haney's tools. We seen hooks. We seen uppercuts. The punch variation was much more broad in this fight for Devin Haney in comparison to the first fight. Now, Haney was landing a lot of jabs, but Haney also landed several right hands as well. In the first fight, he only needed the jab, but in my opinion, this was a better version of George Kambosos. He was more aggressive and he forced Haney to use more tools. And then Haney responded positively, and Haney also, in my opinion, performed better than he did in the first fight. Now, a few people will say, you know what, Haney got in a bit of a war. He got tagged a couple times. It's boxing. If you box, you're going to get hit, and if you swim, you're going to get wet. But Haney really beat the brakes off George Kambosos in this fight. Fantastic timing. He understands distance. He's a very fast fighter. He knows when to initiate the clinch. George Kambosos was eating a lot of jabs today from Devin Haney. And I kid you not, I think I gave Devin Haney almost every round. I wasn't scoring the fight because I knew it was going to be domination from Haney. But my goodness me, I didn't expect him to literally win every single round. So I'll probably have to watch the fight over again and see. But yeah, Haney looked like he won almost every round, just like the first fight. Now, Kambosos showed a lot of heart because, he was cut. The fight could have been stopped. He was leaking a lot of blood, George Kambosos. But to his credit, he kept going and he was taking punches. He wasn't really landing anything on Haney because Haney is so sound defensively. Haney was able to block a couple of punches. Some of George's punches landed on Haney, and Haney showed, pretty good punch resistance. I don't think he has an iron jaw, but he doesn't have an awful chin. A lot of people made out like as if Devin Haney had this glass chin because he got rocked by Jorge Linares, but he's shown a pretty good chin, against George Kambosos in the two fights. Now, Haney also got cut in this fight, and I think it was... See, I think he got cut by his own glove. I think what it was is that, Haney had his glove up, and then Kambosos kind of headbutted his glove into his face, and I suspect maybe the friction, of the glove going down across his face caused the cuts. Though I could be wrong. It could have been caused by a punch, though I'm not too sure. Kambosos was leaking a lot of blood, so I thought maybe they were going to stop the fight. You know what? A few people will be critical of Devin Haney and say, he didn't knock out George Kambosos, but, he put the pressure on Kambosos. Kambosos was durable, but Devin Haney, he doesn't load up on shots. Even when he's winning 9, 10, 11 rounds, he doesn't load up on shots. It's safety first. He doesn't want to caught with anything big. So yeah, this is a guy, he's disciplined. Even when he's up several rounds, he stays disciplined, he keeps his shape, and he boxes well. People will call it a war because, both fighters got cut. Kambosos got, beaten from pillar to post though. But I wouldn't really describe it as a war. I guess you could say it was a war for Kambosos from his point of view. But for Devin Haney, it wasn't really a war because he was just teeing off on George Kambosos. I mean, Devin Haney might have the best jab in all of boxing. I suspect it's between him and Errol Spence Jr. It's just how he lands his jab at will, Devin Haney. And he was countering George Kambosos a lot because Kambosos was a lot more aggressive, so there were a lot of counters. I thought Kambosos was a little bit dirty in the clinch. I seen Kambosos use his head a couple of times, in the clinch. Now, you guys probably didn't notice that, but if you go and look at the fight again, watch it back, you'll see Kambosos was trying to use his head against Haney in the clinch. A few people will complain about Haney trying to punch while they were clinching, but you've got to stay active in the clinch. How many fighters, throw a looping hook or throw a shot to the body when there is a clinch? So you got to stay active, you got to stay on point. Just because you're in a clinch doesn't mean you should assume that, oh, no punches coming. No, punches can come in the clinch, and that's what Haney was doing. Now, that's a subtle way to apply pressure to your opponent, because your opponent is not going to want to be in clinches, or they're going to be worried about shots coming in clinches, and they're going to be more defensive. I would really like to kind of go over what Kambosos did well, but he didn't really do much well besides apply more pressure. And because he applied more pressure, he got hurt in this fight. You know, he got clipped. Haney, I thought the referee would have stopped the fight. I think it was around 7, where just Devin Haney kept teeing off on Kambosos. He kept hitting Kambosos clean, and Kambosos wasn't responding. I might have got the round wrong, but yeah, he just kept hitting Kambosos, and it looked as if, you know, the referee might have stopped the fight because a lot of blood was leaking from Kambosos. But to, again, Kambosos' credit, he stood in there, and he didn't quit on his stool. He kept going. Now, Kambosos' corner was very frustrated with him, saying, come on, you've got to do more, you know, swearing at him. But the reality is, if you look at Kambosos' ability, he did all he possibly could to get a result in this fight. There's nothing more Kambosos could have done to win this fight, because he just doesn't have the ability to win the fight. He doesn't have the skill set, and that's okay. Devin Haney made Kambosos look like an amateur, but he'd make many top-level fighters look like an amateur. I think Haney deserves a lot of credit, because Teofimo Lopez lost to George Kambosos. People were, you know, raving about, oh, Teofimo Lopez is such a big puncher. It's him and Tank are the biggest punchers in the lightweight division. Obviously, he's moved up to 140 pounds, but when he was at 135 pounds, people were, you know, raving about his punching power and how good of a fighter he was. You know, he went to war with Kambosos. Haney beat Kambosos convincingly twice. In the 2 fights against Kambosos, Haney, you could probably give Kambosos 4 rounds at best. Think about that. In 2 fights, 2 12-round fights, Kambosos only won about 4 rounds. That's how dominant Devin Haney was. So, you know what? Haney is on a completely different level to Teofimo Lopez. Let's just be honest. Now, it would be interesting to see how Haney's chin held up against the likes of Gervonta Davis and Teofimo Lopez. If Devin Haney has a very, very good chin, he probably doesn't even need a very good chin, but if his punch resistance is good, I see him beating Tank Davis and Teofimo and Garcia quite comfortably. The only real competitor for Haney would be someone like a Shakur Stevenson. If his chin isn't good enough, then, you know, he might get stopped by someone like a Gervonta Davis. He might get stopped by someone like a Ryan Garcia, though. I feel like Ryan Garcia is just way too rudimentary and conventional and upright for someone like a Devin Haney. So yeah, guys, those were just my quick thoughts on Haney's win over Kambosos. Credit to both men. Congratulations to Devin Haney for defending his undisputed titles, his first ever defense. It'll be interesting to see if he stays and fights Loma. I think he's obliged to contractually. If he doesn't, I suspect he'll move up in weight. Alright guys, peace.